Hi, Scott Lackman, 4510 TV. Today's episode, viewers, we want to capture a story of one of our locals, Romecca Sawers. Romecca, how you going?
Good, thank you.
Now, the reason I wanted to catch Romecca is I recently put out on our Facebook page the hashtag Your Story Matters, and I really want to discover this and explore this a bit further with some locals around town, because everyone has a story, and Rebecca's kind enough. She's going to share her story about surviving child abuse, and we're gonna go through the story. We're gonna get a bit deep on your journey, and then we're gonna then turn the story around of the next chapter of your story and how you're helping people, and how we can ask our community to also help. So, Romecca, for our viewers, thank you for your time, and thank you for wanting to share. Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah. So I grew up in Guam. Guam, for those who don't know, Guam is a territory of the U.S. It isn't far away from here, actually, and it's an island. And at the age of 5 years old, the story happened really at 5. Growing up in a home that was I was surrounded by domestic violence, and at 5, that's when my child sexual abuse had started. And which had led me into quite a destructive journey through my life of going into addictions, eating disorders. So that was of substance and alcohol, and eating disorders from anorexia to bulimia, which lasted for about 15 years. And all throughout school, I was bullied, and never felt loved, never felt like I had a place in this world. I truly did. At home, I heard all the negative words of why I shouldn't be here. And growing up in that sort of environment, there was no nurturing, there was no encouragement, there was no love that I truly felt that helped me to want to wake up and explore what life was really about, and to dream. So it really was about how am I going to get through today? Do I want to get through today? And which then led me into even deeper, as I went from a child to my teenage years and being surrounded by the bullying, and just hearing it wherever I went. I just heard those negative words that just told me that I was just, I just didn't belong and wasn't loved. And so because of all that, I then became, I ran away, and into my early adult years, just drinking even further every day. I had really gotten into promiscuous behavior, and I became a prostitute, actually at 13 years old, not realizing that that's what it was that was happening. But unfortunately, it was that need to be loved and wanting to, just take control somehow. And in that, I then just became really destructive, self-harm, attempts of suicide. I never took on the label of depression. I didn't know what that was because I was quite isolated, didn't have any friends, and so I just knew that the only way for me to feel better was to find a way to feel numb. And so my addiction to alcohol and drugs was the answer for me. I then just partied all the time, as you know. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what. Nothing else mattered. Nothing else mattered.
How'd you come out? How'd you break away? How did you escape?
Yeah, so I found this gentleman who I thought was crazy, because he was telling me how, when I first met him, he was the only Scottish man on Guam. And of course, I was lucky enough to find him. He walked up into the pub that I worked at, and he asked me for a can of Guinness. And sure enough, he just started to speak life into me and tell me that I was beautiful and that he loved me. And I just still thought he was crazy. I became pregnant, and still I still struggled with my demons then, and I was still addicted to alcohol. I tried to stop many times. Of course, while I was pregnant, I was sober, and so that was a blessing. And but then we traveled. We came here to Australia because I desperately pleaded and said, this was 12 years ago, just pleaded with him, please just take me away, and it will be different. And he said it won't be different. And I did realize that when I came to Australia in 2006 that I actually carried my baggage with me, that it was no matter how far I went, my baggage was going to come along with me. Until I unpacked that, that's when things started to change. So I knew that I had to make that choice. And after one drunken night down the Gold Coast, I realized, after seeing my children in the car and hearing a recording of myself, I realized that something had to change. I had to, if I wanted the life and not be a statistic, and not to die early, because deep down I really felt that I was meant for more. And so I guess I just kept nurturing that and fighting, just fighting.
Romecca, you're a lady of faith now. Did that help the survival? Did it help the change in your life and pattern?
Yeah, look, I've come back to my faith about 2 years ago. I really didn't want anything to do with anything spiritual. I kind of wanted to take life by my hands and be the one in control, because I lacked trust in anyone because from the abuse. But I learned to just let it go, and for me to be at peace, I had to forgive. I also just had to, just to be happy. I had to find that empathy to be able to forgive, and to see that to be able to do what I needed to do, I had to let go and to come from that place of peace and love for it. Yeah.
You spoke about your kids. You know, you've got a loving partner now and 2 kids.
Yes.
How much do they know about your journey? Have you been open with them?
Yes, absolutely. My daughter, I basically had to come out and be honest. One, with my eating disorders, in order for me to stop that, I knew that I had to expose it. I had to get that support and help, because I knew that I couldn't do it alone. So that's where my spiritual support came in, and my husband did come in. He's just been an absolute support, and I know that it is the biggest thing that a survivor needs, to go from victim to become empowered, and to be an absolute, to stand on that I guess I would say on that ground of being a survivor, is to be open to that help, to receive, to ask for help, and not feel that you have to do it alone, because you're never alone. You're just not alone.
Once again, for our viewers, I appreciate your strength and your honesty to open up and share your story, because I hope that someone watches this and wants to make a change if they're in a situation. This is where your survivor turns into further strength.
Yes.
That you're about to launch in a couple of weeks' time. We have a U-Butte original copy, Because I Was Abused, from victim to empowered woman. Your first book.
Yes, it's
And
my first book.
it hits the shelves in a couple of weeks' time. And for our viewers, we're going to add a link to our video when that does get published. So again, we'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah.
But tell us about the book.
Well, the book has been a healing. It has been a way to be a voice for those who feel that they don't have a voice, who aren't in that place where they feel that they are strong enough yet. It really was about sharing the story from the voice of a victim, exactly what it sounds like, what life is like for a victim through their life of being a child to a teenager to an adult, the challenges we face. And in this journey of writing my book, it had really brought out even more healing, and it really exposed a lot of just what I put my family through. And it wasn't to condemn myself, but it really was to be aware and to appreciate even more so the journey that a supporter, that the family of a survivor, what they go through, and how, yeah, just amazing, and the strength that it takes for them to be able to be that supporter. And that's why that's why that I do what I do.
And I'd probably just, as you're talking, as a supporter, and probably as your husband or as your kids,
Yeah.
and those around you, I'm trying to think of the words, but there's a strength in that as well, to support someone with no judgment.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Like from a supporter?
Yep, absolutely. He was the first person I say, if he just showed me unconditional love. There was no judgment. He just met me where I was at, and he just spoke life. He just told me basically all the negative things that were spoken to me. He basically spoke the opposite, and that's where I began to allow myself to receive that and to believe that I was worthy, that I am worthy, and that we are all worthy, and we're all able to then come out and be the person who we're destined to be.
You are, and to the next chapter, you are now an empowered woman,
Yeah.
sharing a message, and not only through your book, but you've also now started up your charity, menattorise. Again, for our viewers, we're going to have some extensive links after this video, so when you're on our website, watch the video, but then scroll down. We're going to have some links to menattorise. Tell us about the charity.
Yes, so the charity has all really, obviously it was all meant to be, and I was only able to get it started when I had fully healed. And because I am now healed and empowered, I am now able to support those who are walking their journey. So.
Now you talk about with menattorise, a not-for-profit organisation that you've set up, founder and president, support groups, drop-in support programs, workshops, community education, counselling, and advocacy. All services available by people connecting with yourself.
Yes.
And then I would imagine you then have referral services in the sector as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we currently have a drop-in center. We've been fortunate enough, and Lives Lived Well, based here in Caboolture, have given us an office space that we can work out of until we are able to raise enough funds to get a home for menattorise, where we can have our survivors come in and into the drop-in center and just receive the love and support that we know that we can provide for them. So currently we have support groups for women. We are coming up with men's support groups, which is fantastic, and it really is about just letting them know that there is no shame, no guilt. Just come out and receive that support. We're ready to walk with you on that journey, wherever it is they're at in their journey. We're there to walk with them. It really is about them and not what I think is best for them, because it's their time, their journey.
One of my magic words, you need some funding,
Yes.
you need some support, and what I do take pride in with Andrew, we produce 4510 TV for our Caboolture community. What we pride ourselves on is that we do a shout out down the camera, and donations would be gladly accepted.
Yes.
So if you're looking to donate towards menattorise and you want to help this charity of victims of abuse, particularly child abuse in your younger years. Again, we'll put some details in our links, because there's many services available. I know there's in the government sectors and various organisations, but we all need funding. You've got the dream, you've got the vision, you've got the framework, you've got the experience,
Yes.
you've walked the path.
Yeah.
We just need that little bit of funding to kickstart the next chapter. So for our community, if you are out there, once again, we'll have some links there that you can donate to menattorise. Romecca, once again, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Sharing your story. Check out this cover if you see that around. Once again, we'll have some links. Author, I'm just reading the back, Because I Was Abused, a book entailing the life and mindset of a child sexually abused from the age of 5. available in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
We wish you all the very best for your book launch.
Thank you.
And maybe let's revisit in 6 months' time and see where menattorise is how's it going.
Yeah, excited. I'm very excited for what's to come from menattorise, and I know it's truly meant to be. And we are authentically here for the survivors, and we've just got amazing power behind it.
Yeah.
Thank
All right.
you, Scott.
Romecca
Thank you.
Sawers and thanks for listening.